I've been watching the NBA playoffs, and they've been very, very good. Very good. Well, except for the Nuggets and T-Wolves series, that was kind of terrible, but the rest of them very compelling. And so if you're an NBA fan, man, this is exciting. And we just had a series with Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Bucks, first seed, versus the Miami Heat, or the 8th seed. And the Miami Heat won, to the surprise of everybody. And Giannis, the leader of the Bucks, was asked, after they had this great season, and they were number 1 seed, lose to the 8th seed, was this season a failure? And he says no. Now, I read that this morning. Read it. My first reaction was, come on, Giannis. Come on, man. It's absolutely a failure. I mean, you're the number 1 seed, and you lose to a team that was barely made it to the 8th seed, right? But then I saw, that was just me reading his words. Then when I saw the video of the post conference, when I saw like how he was delivering it and his passion, and he brought up, he was like, Michael Jordan played for 15 seasons, only won 6 titles. So you're telling me that the other 9 were failed seasons? Like, of course not, right? He also brought up to the person who asked him the question, you know, if you're trying to get a promotion, you don't get that promotion, was that whole year work a failure? Of course not, right? And he's right. Totally changed my mind, right? That first reaction I had was that like asshole sports fan mentality, because all sports fans are assholes because everything's so absolute, like it's championship or bust, right? This person's good or they stink. You know, because you're not the GOAT LeBron James, then you're a bum. We do stuff like that all the time, and instead of just appreciating the player or whatever. So I had that mentality, but when I step back, Giannis is absolutely right. Not just about basketball, but he's right about basketball, right? Because all kinds of things happen in a season. You're progressing, all the different players individually are progressing, perhaps the coaching staff is progressing, and even though they don't make it maybe to the finals, even if they don't win a championship, all these other things took place in the season that are positive, right? So not just about basketball, but about life. Because how many people think about, you know, they find their identity in what they do. And when you do that, if things don't go as planned at work, well, then you feel bad about yourself. You feel bad about what you've been doing. And it's just crazy. And not only that, but like how many of us have New Year's resolutions beginning of each year? How many of those actually happen, right? A lot of people out there, none of your New Year's resolutions ever happen. So that doesn't mean that your whole year is a failure, though. You know what I'm saying? It's not a healthy way to view life. So I totally agree with you on this now, and I think it's like more like a macro versus micro type of thing, though, right? Because I can hear people saying now, like that's that snowflake talk. You know, that's what snowflakes say. They don't want to deal with failure. They don't want to deal with accountability and stuff like that. There are failures for sure. There's times when you fail. For example, you take a test, right? You're in high school. You take a test. Maybe you're hoping to get 100. Maybe you're hoping to get a 90 or 80. Maybe you're hoping to get a 70, right? And you totally failed at that. That's a problem, right? You failed that test, but a lot to be learned from that, right? You can learn what you're bad at and get better, or you can learn what you're bad at, say, you know what, I'm just bad at that, and I'll do okay in those classes and focus more of my attention on these classes, right? But it's not, that's like the micro is you failed and you can learn from that. The macro is, you know, it's not really truly a failure because I can do so much more. To me, as long as you're progressing, it's not true failure. But you could fail the test and decide, you know, why should I even keep trying? And you could flunk out of high school, right? Not even that could be seen as, well, perhaps high school isn't for me, and perhaps yours is like a a boy or a girl genius, and you go on to be a millionaire or a billionaire in your own business or something like that, right? Could happen. Could happen. Or you could flunk out of high school and become a drug addict. That's a failure, right? Or a murderer or something, or like whatever, a prostitute. Or all three. You could become a drug addicted, murdering prostitute. Not a good prostitute either. Like you're even failing at prostitution. Like you're quality wise, you are the McDonald's of prostitution. So that's a failure if you are a drug addicted, murdering prostitute. Not only have you failed yourself, everyone has failed you. That is a failure on your parents. That is a failure on your friends. That is a failure on your teachers. That is a failure on any ministers you've ever had, any community leaders. Everyone has failed you. That's a lot of failure. So failure does take place, right? But in most cases, we're not going to have the equivalent in the micro of that scenario, drug addicted, murdering prostitute, right? So in most cases, we're going to be able to learn from our failed attempts, get better, so that we succeed. And that's what Giannis was talking about, right? So take heart. I doubt that you have produced the equivalent of a drug addicted, murdering prostitute. So if you haven't done that, keep moving forward and you shall reach success.